Okay, so right when I started, we were going to talk about Bitcoin and it going up and down, and should you be buying? Should you be selling? Is this time different because Octobear is among us? Or should you be just taking your little panties, holding them tight, and holding on for the ride, right? When you fall down and you're at the end of your rope, you kind of tie a knot. And that's somewhat what we have to do in these markets. And right now, which is interesting, is Trump is up 2.5% now, just today. And he is up 9. What is that? Is that 8? Yeah, it's like more like 7% on Kamala. I can't believe that this isn't 80-20 or 99-1 for what has been going on. And possibly this has to do with Elon Musk basically coming on Trump's rally, which is huge. The richest man in the world is coming on to speak. And that's somewhat why we got a little bit of the pump. But yeah, October 7th was in remembrance of Israel of last year. Something tragic happened. And so the markets are somewhat responding. And we have a comment saying, I hope Bitcoin is like Deegs. Yeah, it's going to come back. It's going to come back. So if I look at what has gone on, well, the S&P is down 1% today. NASDAQ is down 1% today. That's okay. That's pretty standard. If I was to just open this up, I know I've been looking at Bitcoin mainly, but if I'm looking at this, it's still in an upwards. This is on the monthly, right? So there's no reason for concern on this, that we're just continuing to pump higher. And that is with the job growth, with rates being cut. This is pretty standard. Could we see something bump back down here, a couple $100? Possibly, but we've got strong support right at 5,600 for the S&P 500. But if I'm talking more about Bitcoin, man, everything is in a full-fledged downward spiral right now. This is on the daily. And what we can see on the daily is we are stuck in this pattern. We are stuck in this wedge. Okay. And you'd think, hey, we touched this wedge. Shouldn't we be going all the way back down to 50 to 52? Yeah. And if that happens, we're still in a upwards movement as far as a trending market, because that is not making a new low on the monthly, right? If we were to go down below 40 or so, that's really where we would be scared, would be around this level right here, right? That is complete panic. I don't want to see that happen, because I've got $120,000 trade opening right now that I don't want to see have that happen. On the monthly right now, we've just started October, and October is Octobear. We are down 2%. This morning, we were up about 1% from the weekend. And Ethereum, dude, like, what the heck? Why am I trading Ethereum? Because it is down 7%. Why am I such a freaking Ethereum Nazi? And I mean that in the, like, something about me just loves Ethereum. But looking at this stuff, okay, if I zoom more in, so let's zoom more in. Let's get rid of my fancy drawing here. What am I seeing on the daily for Bitcoin? Well, this is not good. This is a shooting star candle, which those are scary because usually they come at the top of a trend, right? And that means we are going down. And my hopium in me says I don't want to see that happen, because hopium, if I'm not going to zoom out to the wedge pattern that we have for the monthly, because this guy is just basically breaking out, okay, on this wedge, which I could definitely see returning to the scene of the crime, because that's typically what these things do. Is you go 3 touches, boom, then we explode, then we touch back down before we go much higher. All right. And usually how these patterns work is it's crazy how they work as well as they do with this stuff. That would be around a $77,000 to $80,000 Bitcoin right here. Okay, nothing new, but we have to be aware that we could be seeing potentially some volatile markets with it going lower, right? So this is scary. This is scary that we have this shooting star because it is a big candle, right? And what we have on the positive, though, is because we've got the rates being cut, we have lots of information as far as when it comes to October. Okay. October of last halving cycle, what happened? Okay. We had a first few days that were down and then exponential growth. This chart is from 10,000. So this chart showing from 54, 52 could see this sucker go to 200, right? In the span of another year, because this is 2025. We could darn near see that growth. Okay. Here's another chart to look at when it comes to when Bitcoin starts to rally in October. Boom, boom. And that's where we are now. Some exponential growth. Again, this is from like 0 to 10,000. Then we went from 5,000, boom, to 60,000. Now we're at 60,000. What are we going to? And typically, here's another chart to look at. Okay. On the exchanges, there is money leaving the exchanges. And why is that important? Well, when money leaves the exchange, they are going to HODL wallets. They're going to ledgers. They're getting stuff locked down. And for that, that means that you only put money onto an exchange when you're getting ready to dump it and sell it. So that's why we pay attention to when there's a lot of money on the exchange, because we go, uh-oh, what's about to happen? Right? So this is just volatile movement. The only thing that I'm a little nervous for is we are trying to break through this support on Bitcoin, and we are unable to do it. Just right off the bat, we are unable to do it. There's lots of orders up here that are sell orders to go short. So that's right around 65. And if you look at this, it makes perfect sense when you see this. Okay, because you've got lots of little areas, boom, 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 boom. Okay. And so for this guy to be this volatile, to have this big of a shooting star, we've seen this before in certain circumstances. There's a doji and they come at the top. So that is concerning. But where could I see the support lie? Well, the support could very well be 60,000 again, where we've been hanging out. And right now on the daily, if this is actually it, okay, there's two things to point where we have, here's a low, and here's a changing of the market. Here's a higher low, here's another higher low, right? So we would need another higher low, but in fact, here's a high and we made a higher high. Okay, so really for this to continue upwards, we would have to see somewhere in the $70,000 mark. Okay, we need to see a pump into around 70,000 for this to be valid. Because if not, well, darn it, we could be seeing back down to that 55 before we potentially can see another break down in the wedge that I showed you to the 52, which would be bad. But just like I said, with the breakout, we've tried to break out of this sucker a couple times and it's continued downwards. Well, what happened here? We broke out, came back to the scene of the crime, and now we're trying to explode outwards. Okay. So next, we just had a very volatile Ethereum. Okay. And here, I'll show you my trade just so that you guys can see it. It's not something I'm proud of. Okay. I am down 43% over the weekend. I actually added a little bit more. I actually leveraged up because we were going in the direction that I wanted to. So I started to level up of the trade, not to make the liquidation go further down, but to just add more. So now I added about $10,000 more to it because my price target is really right around that. This is on Ethereum, is really right around that $3,500 range. Okay. And just in the hour, right? Just in the freaking hour, we saw this sucker go down 2%. And now we're starting to see a hammer candle, right? A hammer candle is a reversal candle as well on the hourly, because we just broke out at 5 o'clock here. And the daily candle is going to close here within this hour as well, which is going to be important because this guy, at least on Ethereum, is looking like a doji, which that is a typical potential break of a candle where we continue to go upwards. And that is part of my hopium. Okay. Because we are following this trend line. If I actually go out onto the weekly and let me zoom out so that we can see a little bit more, how is Ethereum looking? So Ethereum is got this trend line that it is bouncing off of, right? So right here, okay, let's not mind my VWAPs because this is just kind of showing me where the support is. So I'll get rid of those so that we can see. But as of right now, boom, this looks like a buy. Whenever we've hit this area, it has been a buy because Ethereum is pumped up. That's 72%, okay, from a year ago. Here, boom, that was 145%. And what am I betting? I'm betting big that we are going to make another 45 to 150% gain here above 4,000 for Ethereum. And on that, that would make me a very happy individual, right? Because if that was to happen, that'd be 61 grand. Okay. And truthfully, I could see me taking profits right around 2,900 first, then 3,200, and possibly scaling out at the 3,500. Because what I'm wanting to do is I'm wanting to take little pieces and get back into the market when it comes to it. Okay. But even on Bitcoin, right? If I'm just drawing again on Bitcoin, and here, I don't want the horizontal line, but on let's just zoom out just briefly, okay? So that we can see. So we can see a better look. And I've already showed you this. Actually, no, let's go back to the daily, okay? And let me reset. On the daily, here on the volume fixed profile, we've got pretty strong support, what I was saying, right at the $60,000 range. Okay. And then here we've got another level of support right here where I would suspect we could potentially touch this guy and then continue back onwards. Just because I see a shooting star, okay, well, now it's honestly turning into a doji candle, which again is sometimes those candles are considered to be just a break where they don't know exactly where the market is going to go, right? But if this guy ends up being the reversal, we could bounce here before we go back up to that 70,000, which that's what I'm predicting happens. Or this could just be the little break right here because we've had a couple days of green, right? And so, boom, we need to. And judging by what has happened in the past for Bitcoin with October, we have not seen great growth right off the bat, right? There's the whole ideology of sell in May and go away. Well, now's the time to start getting back into the market. October is massive, especially for an election year like this. This is huge, absolutely huge. So yes, am I betting really big? Okay. And here, let's just go back to what I was seeing because you guys are watching me go through what I would go through as far as, hey, what do I need to be scared for? And here, let me look at my favorite. You can see that I don't really like using a lot of indicators. Okay. Because a lot of indicators, they just confuse the stuff. But as of right now, you guys can subscribe to this channel. So you find out what happens to my 10 grand here. I've got 10 grand left over. We have turned $100 into $18,000. Not bad, but we're trying to turn this sucker into $100,000. Got a fellow moto head that says he's a Cardano guy. Charles Hodgkinson's love him to death. right? From the outside looking in. However, he kind of screwed over Vitalik with Ethereum, and he at one point thought he was Satoshi Nakamoto. So I don't. It's a little confusing, but I do hold a pretty big bag of Cardano here. But I'm hoping that we've got some support, right? That is either where we're hitting right now on the daily, or this is still on freaking Bitcoin, right? I changed it back here. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so to the high, to the low, that's where I'm getting that 35, right? Let me zoom out some more. Move this guy down here. Okay, 1500. That's not what I like to see. This is on the weekly. Time to zoom in. Okay, because it's not giving me the answer that I'm looking for. Let me remove the drawings so that we're not confusing what's happening on the chart. Okay, and move this guy out of the way. Where is this guy at? That's at 4,000. Okay, let's go to the 1,500. Okay, giving me the same number that I'm looking at. So now let's move this guy to smaller areas and see what I'm going to get. Okay, perfect. Now let's reset this. Let me zoom in on the very, very small daily. Okay. And that is where I'm seeing 2,400. And that's exactly where we've bounced off of. Not rocket science, but boom, we've bounced right off of the 2,400. So that's what we're seeing. And just inside the hour on Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? We can see complete hammer candle. And now this guy's almost a, what do they call it? Harambe, because that means it's Japanese for pregnant, where it's halfway up the belly, which that is a sense of a reversal. You know, I can start to get somewhat excited to see where this guy is going. Okay. Because again, realistically, we haven't hit a new lower low because this is on the hourly. On the 4 hour, we got to drop down to below the 2,400. And that's hasn't been what's happened, right? We're still looking at those candles. And let me get rid of the drawings again. So that's where I'm seeing. Boom. Okay. We got to hit that to make a new lower low. And right now we're making a higher low. Still could happen, but there's faith that this guy's moving upwards, because we did break down through this trend on the 4 hour. But if I just lightly move it, well, it's looking like we are bouncing from there. And we've had some downwards area. And we didn't have a lot of really good news today. So I wouldn't be surprised if tomorrow ends up being a green day, right? Because yes, this does started off as a shooting star, but now it's turning into a doji, which is showing me that there is volume being pumped into here and people are willing to buy at these prices right now. And we are just having some area of resistance, not being able to break through 2,500. And that's okay. I don't expect it to be easy, but I am stuck in the trade right now where these would have been nicer times to get down again here. Here's another opportunity on Bitcoin to get down through there, right? Here's another opportunity, right? Touching right around 2,400 to get into a position. If you're looking, have a tight stop. But that is what I'm looking at today. I will come back tomorrow and show you what's going on, because this stuff so far is not looking the best. It should revamp and look better. Ooh, now we're at 0.35. Ethereum is still at 5. Once I get out of this trade, you might see me start to trade just Bitcoin, because this is ridiculous. I hate this. I hate this number right now, but I'm trying not to get attached to it because it's just, I got to disconnect myself from it, but I've held on to it long enough. Anyway, despite you guys being with me throughout the entire process, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe so that you see what's going on. And really, I'm here to teach you guys because it's an emotional thing. And I do have some links in the description with some of my partners, especially on Bybit. They're having a world championship trading war going on right now. And currently you guys can see that I'm using ZoomX, and I do like this platform, but we can, I like both of them. I'm planning on moving a little bit more money to Bybit as well. So without further digression, guys, keep it easy. And this is Johnny Crypto here to help you guys learn how to deal with losses.